Okay, hey guys, this is Voz. I'm here on behalf of CG Toots. We are making today a jumping lamp. We're going to be working in Cinema 4D. This is part one of the tutorial. This is what we're going to be making. We're going to be, as I said, we're going to be working in Cinema 4D. We're going to do the lighting, the material, the modeling, the texturing, not texturing, but yeah, the stuff on it. We're going to render it out, and obviously the rigging and the animation to be able to produce basically that from scratch. You're going to need the Mocha module for constraints, and I think visible lights come with the core bundle. Yeah, anywho, that's pretty much it. Okay, let's get into it. We open up Cinema 4D and we have the default layout here. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to add an incremental save button. You do that by right clicking anywhere on the tools, going to, okay, maybe right clicking on these tools and going to Command Manager, and then you search for incremental save. There you go. See, I have it typed to Ctrl-Alt-S. That just means you can save something and then you go Ctrl-Alt-S and it will save another copy of it with a number on the end. So it will go, for example, lamp 1, lamp 2, lamp 3, and it's just useful to hit it every once in a while. So you know, so you have backups, and if one of the files gets corrupt, you don't lose everything, you just lose a bit of work. Okay, now the layout just quickly. Firstly, I like this, having this thing on this side because it's just, I don't need it here. Currently we're not working materials, so you just middle click on this button, or you can control click on these things to fold them. We don't need a timeline either, because well, we're not using them, just give us a bit more space. We're probably not going to be using this thing either, because well, actually I'll leave it for now. Okay, so let's start off. Let's make a cylinder, and this is going to be the top of the lamp shape, like kind of head place. Reduce the amount of rotation segments to maybe something, I don't know. The thing is, we're gonna be cutting these holes out to make the 3 holes on the side. I think this is adequate. Yeah, we have 3 holes here, 3 holes there. Yeah, seems about right. Okay, now make it editable by pressing this button here, or we go to the V menu and we go Tools, okay, Functions. I don't know, there you go, make editable, C. That is, by the way, you hit the V key to bring this up. It's a very useful menu. It has practically everything you have on the sides, but in a menu. So that's why we're going to, I will keep it so you can see what I'm working in. But I rarely actually have this bar. I just, if I really need to, I go here, or as you can see, I have shortcuts mapped to these buttons, so I don't actually even need to, you know, press anything. I just go, yeah, hit the keys and it switches. Now, so we're going to, we made it editable. Now, see, the thing is, cylinders, when they're made from the primitive objects, they actually have 3 parts. If you go to the face mode, you will see that if I select these faces and I move them, they're not connected to the actual cylinder. So what you need to do is you need to go point mode, Control A to select all the objects, go right click and you go optimize. You go OK. And now when you select and move it, see, they all move together. And more importantly, it's smooth now. If you see, when you put it on hypernode, it smooths one object. If you put the other one on hypernode, it wouldn't smooth at all, only on the sides where the connected edges are. Okay, now let's get the bottom faces here. We press D, we then press T for this. D is extrude, by the way, here, extrude, see. Now, we press T to scale, move it out, and just press on the green arrow to make the right shape. Maybe make this a bit lower, it's a bit too high at the moment. Let's once again press D, and spacebar for the select tool, tell select tool, then D, T for scale, smaller, then go back to these ones, spacebar. Okay, I don't know, something about this doesn't seem right. Let's make it a bit squish. Oops, squish it. There we go. Seems a bit better, right? Let's have a look at what my lamp looked like. This thing is a very, you know, artistic preference. You know, you can make it look like whatever you want. PNGC. Okay, so we need it maybe a bit chunkier, just a bit out here. I think we need to add another. By the way, you press K and then you go here, you select loop from this thing, and you can add these wonderful little loop cuts, which, you know, then you can select them by going back to the spacebar. By the way, also, if you see me doing a rectangular selection, that is from here, you untick tolerate only select visible elements, and then you can select, you know, that selection. But what I do actually, if you have a mouse with lots of buttons, I think mouse button 5 is you hold and click it and you automatically draw this no matter what tool you're in. It's a very useful feature. I believe, actually, let's go. I'm sure we can find it in the command manager. Go rectangular selection. See there, MX2. Whatever. I'm guessing that's mouse button 2. It's just auto, yeah, selected. So I think the 0 key should do that as well. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. See, you just wait. Let's change tools to like D. Now holding the 0 key. Yeah, see, you hold the 0 key on your keyboard, and you can draw the selection without switching tools. Very useful. Obviously, map that to whatever you want. I'd probably map that to something close to the left side of the keyboard, but it's up to you. Anyway, so we select these points here, and we go T, and we make it. We move it out a bit. Rounder. Now squash the head shape a bit. Make this whole thing a bit bigger, a bit smaller, like this. There you go. I think that's a pretty good shape for length. Now select these faces, press delete. We don't need them. Now, also let's just move the whole thing up so it's not going through the grid. Okay, now we're gonna need to add some loop. Let's see if we put this in a hypernode right now. It goes very smooth and it loses the definition of the shapes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna disable this. We're gonna press the K key for the knife tool again, or you can just access it here, knife, M-K-K. You go loop, and then untick this restrict to selection. Otherwise it only cuts the polygons you have selected. And we're going to add some knife cuts here, here, down here potentially. I think here would be a good place to add 2 loop cuts. And now if we enable it, see, we have nice definition to our object. Okay, also see how at the top you get this weird thing when you hypernode cylinders. I don't know if you can see it there, see how it kind of, sometimes this thing goes very intense. So what you have to do is you have to add a loop cut near the middle, and then it's all sweet. See, no problem. Okay, now remember those holes that I told you about? We're going to be making those next. Now with these holes we're going to select this, and this face. So we're going to select these top little faces as well. And then we're going to press the I, no, we're not going to press the I key. Okay, oh, sorry. It's like these 3 faces. Press the I key for, this is extrude inner. And now we go untick. If we just click and drag right now, it will make 1 smaller box. So if we untick this, it will make 3 smaller boxes. See? Very convenient. Now we will delete these faces, and we have 3 holes. Good. Now we do the same thing on the other side. Let's find what the other side is. Okay, so it looks like this face, this, and these 2 faces. Once again, we press the I key, make it smaller, and we hit delete. Now, as you can tell, these holes aren't quite the right shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the 4 view mode by clicking this little button here. You can also middle click on the view that you want. To move it, by the way, I'm moving the view with holding the Alt key and the middle mouse button down to pen, and here it's Alt and mouse click to rotate. I hope you know how to do it, but just in case. Okay, now here, disable this hypernode thing, it is confusing. We're going to go to the K tool again. This time I'm going to switch to line, because we're going to be doing a straight line. We're going to click, we're going to hold shift, and we're going to drag across. And then we're going to click, and we're going to hold shift and drag across. Now when we enable them, we have straight holes. Now, I am however slightly unhappy with the size of these holes. Let's do a couple of times and make them the right size. And this time, actually, to save some time, let's do them all at the same time. Let's go shift. Okay, let's make these holes smaller. Something like this would be sufficient. And press delete. Then go to this view, we press K, we draw a line through them, we draw, disable hypernode, can't see anything. Not too high, not too high, too low, too low, that should be good. Okay, let's see what we get. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. Okay, now, as you might have noticed, right now, we have this problem where we have no thickness, it just looks like thin paper, which is not really what we're going for. See, we just made a slight mistake. See how it didn't cut on this side? And then you get these weird cuts. That's because we forgot to enable a very important feature. When you cut here with K, you have to untick visible only, because then it will cut through the whole mesh, not only through one side. See, then we don't get any ugly cuts on the corners, as you might have noticed, and we get cuts all around. Okay, as I was saying, we have a very thin mesh right now, which is not quite right, because, well, you know, lamps aren't thin. You know what, I still don't like this. I think it has to be bigger. By the way, if you don't want to scale in the Y direction, you just click on this band here and you go, and it only scales in the right direction. This thing as well, a bit wider. Okay, and now I'll be a bit lower down. Yeah, that seems about right. Okay, now as I'm saying, very thin, very not quite correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all the polygons. Oops, go to polygon mode. Select all the polygons. Now what we're going to do is we're going to press D key to extrude, and we're going to make it thick. See, like this. But before you do that, a very important thing is you go selection, set selection, and call it, I don't know, S1. I always like to change it because it's easy to throw it into materials later. We're going to be using it later because you never know when you need selection, so whenever you're doing something, you know, adding thickness, always add the initial selections. It will help. Now, we press the D key, and things right now, look, if we extrude, like I'll just over-exaggerate it, you'll see that we still have, it's not, like, you know, here, let me enable hidden garage shading. See, the thing is, it still stays, like, it looks thicker, but it's not genuinely thicker, it just kind of moved it all out. So what we're going to do is we're going to press D, and we're going to go create caps. And this time, when we push the D key, when we click and drag, we actually make genuine thick geometry. See? Look. See? It's actually, you know, it actually has volume now. It's real, you know, it looks like it's thick. So okay, let's drag it out once, just enough to make it look like it's made of a metal lamp or something. That's about right. And now what we do is we deselect everything. We change tools. I don't know, press the I key or something. We gotta disable it. Now we untick create caps. Just make sure the caps are still there, because we're going to be extruding this one more time to make the edges stick up. See, we do a big extrude and a small extrude. And that makes the edges nice and sharp on the edges, like here, and, you know, so it doesn't look like it's made of, you know, soft dough or something. So I just turn off this garage shading just to see what it looks like, see? And now it looks very nice. Now, also here, see, as I said, we go selection. If we click the selection, this is the selection that we have, okay. But what we'll need is we'll disable hyper or press Alt W to be able to see what you have selected. Interesting. Different in 11.5. Anyway, untick it so we can see what's going on. Now, you will sometimes need the interior. You just might. The way to select this is we will go to the V selection menu, or it's also on your mouse button if you have lots of buttons on it, and your loop selection. Now select this, for example, ring here. It's a very useful function. And then we right click and we go, what is it? Okay, sorry, it is once again in the V menu. Selection, grow selection, UI. And then we go UI again. And now we have the interior, see, as a selection base. So we go selection, set selection. Oops, no, sorry, god damn it. Just don't, be careful not to have this thing selected, because otherwise it will, see what happened, it select, so we go Control Z before we set selection. Ah, crap. Oops. Okay, we seem to have selected. We stuffed up our selection because what we did was, or what I did, was we had this triangle selected when we press set selection. Very bad thing to do. So, actually no, we don't need the exterior selection anymore. Yeah, we only need the interior one because we're going to be changing the material inside the lamp to what is outside the lamp to make it more reflective. Okay, well, let's keep working. What is next? Next we need to attach, oh yeah, that's right, this is what I was going to, just one more little thing I was going to show you. See, when this, we go V selection, loop selection, I don't like this, I reckon this thing should be thicker here. I don't know why, I just believe it should, so I usually scale it in a bit. So that's still thin, but right here it's thicker. But what I just did is Alt-A, it switches the wireframe of the hypernub on and off. Like, yeah. So I turned off just to make it all smooth. Okay, well, we have our lamp head. I reckon that's pretty good. Now we're going to be building the leg and the other bit of it. So we call this lamp head. And we're going to start building the rest of it. Now, we add a cube, we go to the 4 view mode, oops, and we move the cube up here. We rotate it so it aligns with the edge. Now we make it editable. We select these points, once again by using the rectangular selection or holding the 0 key and clicking and dragging. We press the T key for scale, or we can access it from here, this button here. And we scale it down, we press the E key to move it back in. And this is going to be the shape of our attachment. Now obviously here we go back to the model tool, we scale the whole thing together so it's nice and thin. Now if we stick in a hypernub right now, we get this weird shape. So we're going to get our knife tool out, we're going to go to the face mode, and we're going to change to loop. And we're going to go add a loop cut, add a loop cut, a loop cut, a loop cut, and a loop cut. Maybe one here. See, now nice and defined. Now we're going to need 2 of these, so we're going to get it. We're going to move it, so we're going to slightly offset it here. We're going to go E, we're going to move it just a teeniest bit across. And then we're going to do this, we're going to go tool, no, object. Don't I see, I have a lot of things hotkeyed, like right now I know if I press Ctrl Alt, I make an instance. Now, see, in Shift F12 you go, it's create, no, it's instance, there you go, see, Ctrl Alt C. I don't actually know how to access from menu, but that's the command that you use. What this does is creates an object which perfectly mirrors the object you had selected when you made it. So now, if I see we have these 2 objects here, which are identical. If I go and select the cube from the first one, and I select these points and I move them, it'll move it on that one as well. So in this case, it's kind of like a symmetry object, but the only difference is I can rotate this one if I want, and then it will still be appropriate. If I move it, it'll still reflect the changes. So it's a very useful thing to know. It's very useful when you're working with many objects, or when you just think that you will need to, change something. So now we put these together, we go Alt-G to group them into one. And see, this is how the axis right now is not in a very convenient place. Yep, we're going to move it right here. And then we're going to go back into here. We're going to change back to the model. By the way, that's how you move axis. Sorry, I didn't explain that. You press this second button here, and now you can move the axis without moving the objects inside it. So, because now, for example, we'll be able to rotate it around this place if we ever need to. And same thing with movement. I'll explain this when I come to rigging. It is more relevant in that section. Okay, so now we have this thing. We're gonna group these together again and call this lamp head once again. And now we have to make the actual leg for the lamp. Now we rotate the head so so it's easier to work with. And there you go. Sorry, Control Z. Firstly, this is where, once again, axis. We know this head is going to be rotating. Oops, sorry, axis. We know it's going to be rotating around this place. That is where it will be rotating, because that's where it's going to be connected to the rest of the lamp. So we move it there. Now we rotate it, and we move it up. Now the thing is here, I actually like using the bone tool for like this. We're not actually rigging yet. We're just setting up the proportions of the lamp. So we go to character, we go joint tool, and we hold the control key down. So we draw the first point at the axis, the second point here, and then the base. Now we let go of the control key, because you hold the control key to create, and now we can move each one separately. So we move it until the proportions of the lamp are what you think they're meant to be. So, I think to maybe a bit more this way. Also, if you click on the bone itself, you move both points. If you just click on the circle, you move just the circle. So you move just the end point if you click on the actual circle. There we go. Okay, So let's move this around. Sorry. I think that's about right for size lamp. Okay, well this is the end of part 1. I will continue modeling the next part of this tutorial. Thanks.